I'm going to give you something I want you to do because this proves a point. This is bragging a bit, but it proves a point. You know, because you've gone through some stuff, I'm sure, online and seen I've done a lot of books.
Yeah.
And one of the books I did, I started in 1966. A long time ago, I try to make that point. It's a long time ago. And it's before computer graphics were around that you could do, and certainly computer cartography and all that. I did a book, very large format, 17.5 inches square. So, and every page folded out. So every page was 35 inches or, that's big, and every one was a map, and it was called Urban Atlas 20 American Cities. And I chose 20 cities, and I did a comparative statistical visual analysis of cities, because no two cities in the United States do their maps to the same scale or with the same legends or collected the same way. So this was what I was trying to do, was influence how they map the next, after 66, the 80 census, how they would collect things. I had no influence at all. But I devised a system that was hand-drawn, and I got the dean of a school of architecture in St. Louis, his name was Passano, to give me 55 students for a term, with nothing else but working for me in the School of Architecture. Absolutely unethical, but he did that. And for that, I put his name first. He had nothing to do with the book. So it's Joseph Passano, a lovely man, Joseph Passano and Richard Saul Wurman, but I get all the credit for the book anyway from everybody, because everybody, when it's published or it's in articles, they know I did it. So it was this first statistical, and I developed, it was a fairly academic and detailed introduction to talk about how I chose the system and how I designed the system and how I designed the grid and how I worked from census data and USGS maps to do what I did, and the whole transformation. So you could follow my whole process, and the wrong moves I made, much as the same as I think about it, as in Crick's speech, this Crick's tape, talking about the wrong moves he made in developing his thing. It's a wonderful speech, wonderful interview. He also found another tape of an interview where I interviewed my father in a 21-minute interview in 1974.
Wow.
That was very moving.
Yeah.
Anyway, he liked to talk about the different cars he owned in his life. That was a big thing, people's cars and what they had at different times. It was a measure of your success and your measure of your personality through life and your well-being. Well, really interesting. And I remember how important cars were, and that kids could identify any car from any distance, and now they all look the same. I can't tell one car from another. I told you that one of my best friends is Jack Dangermond, who owns Esri, ESRI, who owns the GIS space, the Global Information System space of mapping worldwide. He's a multi-billionaire, serious in the double-figure billions. Lovely man, just terrific guy. And he called me up about a year ago, I guess. And he said, he calls me by my middle name, which is oddly enough, Eames called me by my middle name too. He called me Saul. And he said, go online and look up Wurman dots, D-O-T-S, because my system had a series of dots that were hand-drawn in it. I want you to look up, Google Wurman dots, not this minute, and there's several articles on this. He gave it over to about 8 people in his research and development staff to translate what I did by hand into a new mapping system that is packaged with his basic package he sells to people called Wurman dots. And it's something I did, and he didn't tell me about it. It was a surprise for me. And he didn't tell me about it. And it's now a basic mapping system that's in cartography. In 1958-9, I went to Tikal, Guatemala. Tikal is the largest and the oldest of the Mayan cities in Guatemala. It's the major site, Mayan site in the world. And it was just jungle. The first year of the expedition, which was put on by the University of Pennsylvania School of the Archaeological Museum, I was one of 3 people that did plane table in the field without lasers, just with slide rules and a glass, plane table surveying, because the other things weren't invented yet, of Tikal. They were published by the USGS. So I really have earned my right to say I'm a cartographer, even though I've never taken one course in cartography.